Hi, this is Mike Schmitz, and welcome to another edition of Screencasts Online. In this week's episode, we'll be continuing our look at automation tools for the Mac. In part 1, we covered some basic automation principles and covered some essential automation tools. We talked about the strengths and weaknesses of apps like TextExpander, Hazel, Keyboard Maestro, Automator, and AppleScript. And we showed you when and how to use each effectively by sharing some sample workflows so you can be sure you're using the right tool for the job. In this episode, we're going to dive a little bit deeper and show you more specific use cases of how you can actually chain these automation tools together. These workflows will be a little bit more complex and time-consuming to set up, but once you invest the time to automate some of these things, they will start to save you time immediately. If you haven't yet watched part 1, where we cover the tools that we'll be using, you might want to go back and watch that episode first so that you have a basic understanding of the applications we'll be using to construct these more advanced workflows. If you've already watched that episode or have a good feel for TextExpander, Hazel, Keyboard Maestro, Automator, and AppleScript, then you should have no trouble applying and tweaking these examples to your own situation to start saving time on your Mac immediately. Let's dive in.